yes, there's a lot of my time that I've got to think clearly and analytically and bring a structure to what I'm doing, and the way that I'm trying to think about a problem and measure it and be able to get the proof that you're having the impact that you want to have. But it's equally a heart thing as it is a head thing.
Yes.
That my job is equally to be the organisation's storyteller and to represent and to try and understand the emotional connection that we have as customers to something. There's just, I can't ever detach those two things from each other.
Yes. And is that the classic dichotomy of heart and head needing to work together? Or, I mean, there are other dimensions in there though as well, I'm thinking, because the science approach has an element of testing,
yes,
and
yes,
getting feedback and testing multiple hypotheses around,
yes,
hey, this thing could work in Australia, let's try it.
Yes.
Because that aspect of entrepreneurial mindset, we often find it hard to get moving in the social space, given all the risks and the government is such a big buyer of social services. So I mean, how do you apply that? Because I'm quite interested in that. How do we think about experimentation and learn from science in the social space?
It's really hard to measure a lot of the things that we're trying to measure, and they're really complex problems.
Yes.
So it's often, you're working in an ecosystem with a whole bunch of factors, and so it's easy, I think, sometimes in the social space to be a bit lazy or to think it's all just too complicated to be able to measure it. So you measure really basic output kind of measures. How many people went through, how many people got their certificate, all of those basic measures. And to me, that's pretty lazy. Yes, it's complicated and there are so many variables in it, but I think part of my scientific background and also that of my partner, Kate, who's our co-founder, Kate's a clinical psychologist, so that clinical, kind of way of, scientific way of thinking about something meant that what we did really early on is build ourselves a theory of change. So try and think about what's the business model, how do all the bits of this fit together, and what's the interactions or the interrelatedness between those things, and let's try and work out how you measure those things. So I think we brought quite a degree of that scientific rigour to that really early kind of hypothesising. And then what we did is we worked out, we built ourselves essentially a measurement and evaluation framework and said, okay, obviously we're here to try and do good. Now the worst fear that you have is that maybe you're not only doing good, but you might be doing harm, and you're not going to know that until you actually test some of that stuff. So what we were trying to do is baseline a bunch of stuff. So we're doing lots and lots of research. What were we finding out from around the planet? And then starting to build that measurement framework and then baseline, from the first kids that walked in the door, and then be able to track that longitudinally, because, the kids that are walking in our door, we're not going to know the actual impact we've had for potentially years and years.
Absolutely.
We might have a kid for 6 months, but you're talking about so many complexities and challenges that they've faced, that what's the attribution that our attribution of that social change? Is it 0.2%? Is it 50%? Is it 90%? How would life have played out for them if we weren't there? So I think that rigour in thinking through our role in the broader social change for that young person, but then all the factors that we were bringing into that equation, and I think that served us pretty well.
Okay, but your true customer in a way is
your beneficiaries.
Yeah, the beneficiaries. So I mean, how do you orient yourself around their needs? Because in a way, that's at the core of any really successful business, social or not, orienting around the core customer. I mean, how do you do that on a daily basis?
Look, I think it's far harder to do in a social enterprise setting for part of the reason you just said. You've got all these kind of multiple accountabilities. If you're in a for-profit, you've got owners and customers. They're the two critical people that you're trying to
staff sometimes.
but in a in a social enterprise setting, you know, your owners are your funders, and or your, you know, various ways you get your revenue, and there can be a lot of those. You know, it can be the government, it can be philanthropic foundations. You know, just the complexity there. But then, you know, it's not just that you've got customers, you've got beneficiaries, you've got partner organisations. So you've got all of these extra accountabilities everywhere that makes, I think, the ecosystem a bit more complicated for you. And yes, you exist to bring about change for this group of, you know, homeless and disadvantaged young people who are 16. But your business, you know, whilst your business is there to absolutely, you know, support them, it's the reason you exist, that doesn't happen unless you've got customers walking in the door. So it would be a mistake for us to just go, look, you know, our young people get to choose whatever we do, this is their business, and not be thinking about, well, actually, who's going to buy the coffee and who's going to buy the meals, and is it a bunch of 16-year-old teenagers? Well, no, actually.
Efficiency, negotiation.
We've got cafe sites that have, you know, all corporate clients coming in suits all day, through to RMIT University where it's students. So you've got this complexity of having to deeply understand that range of customers and what it is that they want and how they want to engage with us. And not just to engage with us in buying their coffee, but is the social mission actually important to them? To some of them it is. It does, actually. So what we've done some research around this, quite a bit of research actually. We've done focus groups, we've done surveys, we've done face-to-face interviews with customers, and what's really clear is, first and foremost, it's got to be a good product. It's also got to be served with a smile, so service is really important. But once you have those two things guaranteed, other issues like, you know, the social mission starts to creep up on you. So it's not the reason probably you walk in the door at the beginning, but it's the reason that you keep coming back and then tell more friends about it, and that actually you don't just stay as, you know, a coffee customer. You might become a donor, or you might start to kind of deepen that engagement. So what we've found is customer loyalty that I think many of our, you know, other coffee chains would be so envious to be able to get. And the social mission is very much part of that loyalty.